Hey friends, today we're going to tackle a dish that your kids will love. You can serve it the day of and have leftovers for lunches and dinners for the rest of the week. It's mac and cheese. And no, not the box stuff. A real creamy, delicious mac and cheese. I call it holiday mac and cheese because I make it for every holiday. Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, Easter, bat mitzvahs, quinceañeras. It is the staple at my family gatherings. And when you make it for your family, you'll see why. Let's head to the kitchen. Here's what you need. For the mac and cheese, 1 pound of your favorite pasta, 4 tablespoons butter, 1/4 cup of flour, 1½ cups whole milk, 2 12-ounce cans of evaporated milk, 1 tablespoon cornstarch, 1 chicken bouillon cube, which is optional, 2 teaspoons onion powder, 2 teaspoons garlic powder, 2 teaspoons dried parsley, 2 teaspoons chili powder, some salt to taste, 3 7-ounce blocks of sharp cheddar cheese, freshly shredded, 12 to 16 slices mozzarella cheese, or the cheese of your choice, 1/2 cup sour cream, 1/2 cup mascarpone, 1 cup freshly grated Parmesan cheese. For the topping, 3 tablespoons of butter, 1 cup of panko, and 4 to 6 slices of bacon, which is also optional, cooked and roughly chopped.
First, we're going to cook our pasta. A lot of recipes will have you cook pasta al dente, which means that it's not quite finished and it's going to cook further in the oven or the pan, depending on the dish that you're making. And that totally works for some dishes. But for this dish, we're going to cook our pasta until it's totally cooked, totally finished. What happens when you cook it al dente is that you put it in the oven. Because the pasta is not totally cooked, it absorbs the cheese sauce as it finishes cooking. So you wind up with this dry mac and cheese. And nobody likes a dry mac and cheese.
Drop your pasta into a pot of boiling water and add a little salt to give it some flavor. Once it's done, pull a piece out and test it if you need to. Looks like it's ready. Now we're going to strain our pasta. Now hear me out, I know many of you have been told differently, but it's super important that you do not rinse your pasta. When you do that, you remove all of the starches that help the sauce cling to the pasta. Instead, just give it a couple of good shakes to remove any excess water.
Now we're going to make our roux. Don't get scared, it's not a gumbo roux that you have to nurse for a long time. It's an easy roux that becomes a bechamel sauce that will then add our cheeses and our flavors to. And it's really the backbone for our mac and cheese. And my mama always said, Kyle, if you're going to do something, do it right.
To start, whisk the cornstarch into the evaporated milk. Then, in a large Dutch oven over medium heat, melt 4 tablespoons of butter. You can also use a skillet for this process. Once the butter's melted, whisk in the flour and cook for 2 to 3 minutes. You'll see as you cook that the roux takes on many different colors. It's going to start this nice light ivory color and then get to a yellowish color and then a nice golden brown. That's what you want. Don't get scared, it's not burning, it's just cooking. And there it is, at the last stage of cooking for this recipe, nice and golden brown. Turn the heat to low and whisk in, slowly, our warm whole milk. And you want the milk to be warm because adding cold milk will cause your roux to be lumpy. And do it nice and slow. little bit at a time goes a long way. Once your whole milk is fully incorporated, it's time to add in the evaporated milk that we've already added our cornstarch to. You see why we did that? And just like the whole milk, you want to add this slowly. Adding too much milk at one time can, like adding cold milk, cause your roux to be lumpy and just take a lot longer to smooth out. And now we've got ourselves a creamy bechamel sauce. Turn the heat back up and keep whisking. This is when I add my bouillon cube to add some depth of flavor to the dish. But remember, it is optional. Let it start to bubble, and right before it gets to a boil, toss in your spices. Then give it a good whisk to get them nice and incorporated into the sauce. Then let the sauce come up to a boil. Once it's at a boil, turn the heat down to medium and let it simmer, stirring occasionally until the sauce thickens. When the sauce is thickened, turn off the heat.
Now we're going to add our cheese. And you really want to use freshly grated. The prepackaged stuff has wood pulp in it, believe it or not, to keep it from clumping. And it also doesn't really melt that well. So just go ahead and spend the few minutes freshly grating your cheese. I promise you, it is worth the time. Okay, so my cheese is nice and melted, and it took some time. It's going to take some whisking. So get your arms ready. But it's nice and smooth, and it is ready for the pasta. So our cheese is all nice and melted. We're going to add our pasta and really gently toss it around. You don't want to tear the pasta. I'm just going to pop this in here. Nice big hunk of pasta. You can switch to a wooden spoon. We've got our pasta and cheese sauce made and combined, and we're almost ready to assemble and bake. But before we do that, there's just a few more steps. I promise when you taste this dish, you'll know it's all worth it.
Combine your sour cream, and the mascarpone in a bowl and set aside. In a small skillet, melt 4 tablespoons of butter, add the panko, give it a good toss, and let it toast until the panko begins to brown.
Now that we've got everything that we need, it's time to assemble. And if you've got some extra little hands around, call them over to come help out. Some of my favorite childhood memories are of me helping out in the kitchen. Okay, so that's not really me, but
you get the point. To assemble, pour half of the pasta into your prepared baking dish. This is a 9x13 dish that's been buttered. Spread the pasta evenly, top with the slices of mozzarella, then spoon half of the sour cream and mascarpone mixture over the cheese slices. Repeat the process. Sprinkle 1 cup of Parmesan over the final sour cream and mascarpone layer. Top with panko and a chopped bacon. And it is optional, but who doesn't love bacon?
Alright, our mac and cheese is assembled and topped with our parm and sour cream and mascarpone mixture, the toasted panko, and our crispy bacon. So we're going to pop this into a 350-degree oven for about half an hour, or until you see all the sides nice and bubbly. and cheese is done, and it's been cooling for about 10 minutes. And now, we taste. Oh wow, that is good. I've eaten this a million times and I'm still amazed by how delicious it is. It's creamy and crunchy and there's tons of flavor and mac and cheese. So go ahead, ditch the box stuff, make this for your family. I promise you, they'll love it. Until next time, enjoy.